If there's one invention that completely changed the way Americans eat, it has to be canned food. From Spam to canned tuna to canned tomatoes, these humble metal containers hold more than just preserved meals. They hold history, convenience, and the story of how our fast-paced modern diets came to be. Imagine walking into your kitchen after a long day, grabbing a can off the shelf, and having an instant shortcut to a warm, hearty meal without fuss. That's the magic of canned food. It's not glamorous, but it's deeply woven into American culture and daily life. Today we're diving into the fascinating journey of canned staples, starting with Spam and canned tuna, exploring how they're made, why they became so iconic, and the surprising role they continue to play in kitchens across the United States. Stick around because by the end you'll not only appreciate the industrial process behind these cans but also see why generations of families, soldiers, and busy workers have relied on them for comfort and survival. The story of Spam is as American as apple pie, even if it doesn't sound as glamorous. First introduced in 1937 by the Hormel Foods Corporation, Spam was a clever solution to a problem: how to make use of pork shoulder, a cut of meat that was cheap but not very popular. By grinding it, seasoning it, and sealing it into cans, Hormel created an affordable, long-lasting source of protein. Little did they know that this invention would explode in popularity. During World War II, Spam became a lifeline for American soldiers overseas. Because it didn't need refrigeration, it was easy to ship across oceans and jungles, landing on the plates of millions of troops. Soldiers grew so familiar with the pink square meat that when they returned home, Spam was already a household name. More than 9 billion cans have been sold worldwide since its debut, and it continues to be loved not just in the US but in Hawaii, Guam, South Korea, and the Philippines. In fact, in Hawaii, Spam is often considered a cultural staple, showing how something born of convenience became a comfort food in its own right. But how exactly does Spam get from pork shoulder to the iconic blue and yellow can? It all begins with careful meat selection. Pork and ham are chosen, usually from the shoulder, since it has the right balance of lean meat and fat. This balance is crucial for that familiar Spam texture. Not too dry, not too greasy, but just right. Once the meat is trimmed, it's chilled to low temperatures. Chilling keeps the meat fresh and firm, making it easier to grind. Giant industrial grinders process the meat into a fine, uniform consistency, which sets the stage for the signature smoothness inside the can. Next comes seasoning and mixing. Large mixers combine the ground pork with salt, sugar, potato starch, and sodium nitrate. Each ingredient has a specific job. Salt preserves the meat and deepens the flavor. Sugar adds a hint of sweetness that balances the saltiness. Potato starch binds the meat together, giving it structure so it doesn't fall apart. Sodium nitrate acts as a preservative, keeping the meat safe and helping it retain that distinctive pink color. Water is also added to keep everything moist and pliable. This mixture is blended thoroughly until it becomes a smooth paste ready for canning. At this point, automation takes over. Filling machines carefully portion out the exact amount of meat paste for each can. Precision is everything. Too much and the can won't seal properly, too little and customers will notice. Once filled, the cans are sealed instantly to lock in freshness and keep contaminants out. The sealed cans then move into massive steamers or pressure cookers, where they're cooked under intense heat. This process not only cooks the meat but also sterilizes the can, ensuring it's safe to sit on shelves for months, even years. Inside, the meat firms up, taking on that classic Spam shape. After cooking, the cans are cooled quickly to preserve the texture. Only then are they labeled and packaged with every detail, from ingredients to expiration date, printed neatly on the label. Finally, they're boxed, shipped, and stacked onto grocery store shelves, ready to be fried for breakfast or sliced into musubi. Spam's versatility is one of the reasons it has stuck around for so long. In Hawaii, Spam musubi reigns supreme, a fried slice of Spam glazed with soy sauce and sugar, placed on rice and wrapped in seaweed. It's the ultimate grab-and-go snack, perfect for beach days or lunch breaks. On the mainland, Spam fried rice is a quick favorite. Diced Spam tossed in a hot pan with rice, vegetables, and eggs, creating a dish that's both comforting and filling. Breakfast lovers swear by Spam and eggs, pan-fried slices alongside scrambled or sunny-side-up eggs. Whether you love it or joke about it, Spam has a way of sneaking into meals in creative, delicious ways. Now let's move on to another canned superstar, tuna. While Spam was born from pork, canned tuna brought seafood to American tables in a revolutionary way. Before the 1900s, fish was usually eaten fresh, salted, or smoked. But in 1903, California companies began canning tuna, and it didn't take long for it to catch on. By the 1910s and 1920s, canned tuna was surging in popularity because it was cheaper than salmon yet still packed with protein. Its mild flavor appealed to families who wanted a simple, affordable fish that could be used in salads, sandwiches, and casseroles. During World War II, canned tuna became essential once again. It could last for months without spoiling and was easy to ship to soldiers and civilians alike. By the 1950s, dishes like tuna salad, tuna casserole, and tuna sandwiches were staples in American households. Even today, the U.S. is one of the world's largest consumers of canned tuna, with millions of households keeping a few cans in the pantry for quick, healthy meals. The process of making canned tuna is just as fascinating as Spam's, though it starts in the ocean. Massive fishing vessels catch species like skipjack and albacore, which are most commonly used for canning. Once caught, the fish are kept chilled and quickly transported to processing plants. There, workers clean and steam cook the fish whole. This pre-cooking step firms up the flesh and makes it easier to separate the meat from the bones and skin. After cooling, workers or machines carefully clean and sort the tuna meat, removing unwanted parts to ensure only high-quality chunks or flakes remain. The meat is then packed into cans, sometimes with water, brine, or oil depending on the variety. The cans are sealed and cooked again under high heat, just like Spam, to sterilize the contents and lock in freshness. Once cooled, they're labeled and distributed across the country, waiting to be turned into a quick tuna melt or a creamy casserole. Canned tuna's versatility is legendary. A classic tuna salad mixed with mayo and celery has fed countless school lunches. Tuna melts, where tuna salad meets melted cheese on toasted bread, are a diner favorite that never seems to go out of style. Tuna casserole, that mid-century classic with pasta, peas, and a creamy sauce topped with breadcrumbs, became a comfort food staple in the post-war years. Even today, with more focus on healthy eating, canned tuna remains popular because it's lean, high in protein, and low in fat. Whether it's mixed with avocado for a modern twist or simply tossed into a salad, canned tuna continues to prove why it's one of America's most dependable pantry staples. Have you ever stopped in the middle of making a tuna melt or a bubbling pot of chili and wondered how those little cans of tuna and tomatoes actually got to your kitchen shelf? Behind the labels and packaging is a fascinating journey that begins far out at sea and deep in California's tomato fields, weaving together tradition, technology, and some truly massive operations. From fishermen battling the waves to farmers racing against the sun, the story of canned tuna and canned tomatoes is as much about American kitchens as it is about global food supply chains. Stick around because by the end of this story you'll not only have a new appreciation for what goes into your pantry staples, but you might also be inspired to whip up a comforting casserole, a cheesy tuna melt, or even a trendy shakshuka. The journey of canned tuna begins far from land, with enormous fishing vessels heading into open waters in search of schools of tuna. Depending on the type of tuna being targeted and the waters where they're found, fishermen use a variety of methods. Purse seining involves surrounding entire schools of tuna with massive nets that are cinched like a drawstring bag. Longlining stretches fishing lines studded with thousands of baited hooks across miles of ocean. In some regions, more traditional pole-and line fishing is still practiced, where fishermen haul in tuna one at a time. Whatever the method, once a fish is caught, speed is everything. The moment tuna hit the deck, crews rush them into tanks filled with ice or chilled seawater, locking in freshness before heat or bacteria have a chance to spoil the meat. Modern fishing vessels are essentially floating refrigeration units, equipped with freezing systems that can keep fish at ideal temperatures for days or even weeks while the boat continues its voyage. By the time these vessels dock at port, every tuna is still pristine, ready to be whisked away to the processing plants where the real transformation begins. Once inside the factory, every single tuna undergoes careful inspection. Workers trained to spot even the slightest imperfections sort through the catch, ensuring that only the highest quality fish are used for canning. The fish are then thoroughly cleaned. Scales are removed, blood is washed away, and any unwanted parts are discarded. What remains is prepared for the first stage of cooking. Giant industrial cookers steam or boil the tuna whole, a process that softens the flesh, reduces excess oils, and locks in the natural flavor and nutrients of the fish. Imagine the aroma of fresh tuna filling the air as vats the size of swimming pools slowly cook hundreds of pounds at a time. Once cooled, the cooked tuna is ready for the next crucial step, filleting. Here, skilled workers or machines carefully remove the skin, bones, and darker portions of the meat. Only the light, tender sections are kept, the ones most Americans recognize as the familiar chunks inside a can of tuna. The clean fillets are then portioned into cans with astonishing precision. Automated machinery fills thousands of cans per hour, each portion identical to the next. To keep the tuna moist and flavorful, liquid is added, usually water, brine, or oil depending on the final product. With everything in place, the cans are sealed airtight. This isn't just about convenience. The sealing process is what makes canned tuna shelf-stable, locking in freshness while keeping out air and bacteria. But the process doesn't stop there. To ensure food safety, those sealed cans head straight into massive pressure cookers, also known as retorts. Inside, they're subjected to extremely high temperatures that kill off any remaining bacteria. This sterilization process is the reason you can open a can of tuna months or even years after it was packed and still enjoy it safely. Once sterilized, the cans are cooled rapidly to halt the cooking process, preventing the fish from drying out. They then move on to labeling machines, where each can is dressed with its familiar branding, ingredient list, and expiration date. From there, they're packed into boxes and stacked onto pallets, ready to be shipped to supermarkets across the country and eventually into your pantry. Of course, what happens next is where canned tuna really shines, on the plate. In American kitchens, one of the most beloved creations is the tuna melt. There's something deeply comforting about that combination. Creamy tuna salad layered onto toasted bread, topped with gooey melted cheese, then grilled until golden brown. It's the perfect balance of warm, crunchy, and savory, a quick lunch that has stood the test of time. Then there's the tuna casserole, a classic dish of post-war America that still shows up at family dinners and potlucks. Imagine tender pasta swirled with canned tuna, cream of mushroom soup, and peas, baked until bubbly under a crispy topping. It's not fancy, but it's pure comfort. Canned tuna also finds its way into salads, wraps, and even sushi-inspired recipes, proving its versatility again and again. Now, while tuna has its roots in the ocean, another pantry superstar comes from the fields: canned tomatoes. These have been a part of American cooking for well over a century. As far back as the mid-1800s, when canning technology first started to spread, families relied on canned tomatoes to carry the bright taste of summer into the long, cold winters. By the late 1800s, nearly every household had a stash, ready to pour into soups, stews, and sauces. During the Great Depression and World War II, canned tomatoes became an affordable, reliable source of nutrition, cementing their place in the American pantry. Today, whether it's for a weeknight pasta sauce or a pot of chili simmering on a Sunday afternoon, canned tomatoes remain a kitchen essential. Most of America's canned tomatoes come from California's Central Valley, a region blessed with sunny days, cool nights, and fertile soil. This agricultural powerhouse produces about 95% of the country's processed tomatoes and roughly 35% of the global supply. Harvest season runs from July through October, when acres upon acres of tomato plants ripen in the sun. To capture them at peak flavor, farmers use mechanical harvesters capable of processing vast fields in a single day. These machines scoop ripe tomatoes from the vines and load them into large bins for transport. Trucks then rush them to processing plants, ensuring they arrive fresh and firm. At the factory, the tomatoes begin their transformation. First, they're unloaded and thoroughly washed to remove dirt, leaves, and other debris. Conveyor belts carry them past workers and optical sorting machines that identify and remove damaged or underripe tomatoes. Only the plumpest, juiciest fruits move forward. Next comes blanching, where tomatoes are briefly boiled or steamed. This loosens their skins, which are then peeled away by specialized machines. The result is smooth, skinless tomatoes ready for processing. Depending on the product, the peeled tomatoes may be left whole, diced, crushed, or pureed. They're cooked in large vats, often with small amounts of salt, citric acid, or herbs added to balance flavor and preserve freshness. Then, just like with tuna, the filling process begins. Sterilized cans roll down assembly lines as precise filling machines pour in the prepared tomatoes. Each can is sealed tightly, ensuring the contents remain safe and flavorful for months to come. The sealed cans then undergo sterilization, heated under pressure to destroy bacteria, before being cooled, labeled, and boxed for distribution. The beauty of canned tomatoes is in their versatility. Think about chili, that hearty American staple often served at cook-offs, football tailgates, and family gatherings. Without canned tomatoes, chili wouldn't have its rich, tangy base. Or take shakshuka, the North African and Middle Eastern dish that has become a star in trendy American cafes. Simmered canned tomatoes form the foundation of a spiced sauce where eggs are poached until just set, creating a dish that's as beautiful as it is delicious. Then there's spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, lasagna, and countless soups and stews, all relying on canned tomatoes to bring brightness and depth of flavor, no matter the season. So next time you crack open a can of tuna for lunch or reach for a can of tomatoes to complete dinner, Remember that what seems like an everyday convenience is the result of an incredible chain of work stretching from fishing boats braving the open sea to California farmers harvesting under the hot sun. The technology behind it may be complex, but the end result is beautifully simple: accessible, delicious food that brings comfort and flavor into American homes. These little cans are more than pantry staples. They're a link between tradition, innovation, and the meals that bring us together at the table.